Mai định làm lại định ai mình làm không rồi
A very good afternoon. Welcome to lecture 29. We only have two left. And this will be the sort of the last full lecture that we have. Lecture number 30, the last one, will mostly be preparation for the final exams. We're going to practice some things to prepare you guys for the finals for psychology in lecture 30. So this will be the last full lecture that we have. Last lecture, we ended halfway in lecture number 28. We discussed three things: depression, and one specific type of depression, bipolar. In the end of the lecture, we talked about schizophrenia. Now, similar as with the anxiety disorders, you have to be able to recognize these disorders. And so if you read about this, you should be able to understand if you're reading about depression, about bipolar, or schizophrenia. So depression will be the most easy to recognize for most of us, because it is the most known mental disorder. We all have an idea what this means. But still, I want to give you the key points of when a person has a depression and when a person is just sad or feeling down, which are two different things. So a depression, once more, shows if a person is at least feeling down for at least 2 weeks, so 2 weeks or every day. So not one day feeling sad and the other day feeling happy. No, for 2 weeks in a row, at least, we see that a person with depression is feeling down every single day. But also, we often see a sudden change in weight. Yeah, so either way, people gain a lot of weight or they lose a lot of weight. A sudden change in sleep. Either way, sleeping way more or sleeping way less than you normally do. We see that it's combined with thinking about yourself in a really negative way. We call this feeling worthless. Where people really feel that they don't matter, that other people don't care about them. And often, but not always, we see that people, if they are in depression for a longer time, so way longer than 2 weeks, let's say 2 years or more, we see that at least thinking or about suicide becomes a problem. So thinking about ending their lives. Thinking is way different than actually doing. There is a big difference in here. So we often see that people with depression, as these, maybe for 1 or 2 seconds, they suddenly think, I don't see any solution, maybe I should end my life, but they will never really do it. There is a big difference there. We see that suicide goes in different levels. The first level is that you sometimes have this idea in your head. Second level is that this idea is in your head way more often. Third level is that you start making plans how to do it. And then the fourth level is that people actually are trying. And then the fifth level is that they are succeeding. And so that they actually kill themselves. So suicide is not something that just happens. We see that people go through a whole phase of this. So really often you can actually prevent this, you can stop this. Other people can stop it. So if these things are happening, or at least 3 of these things are happening, then we're talking about the depression. So make sure that you understand how to separate this. Having a bad week or having a depression are 2 different things. And then, like I said last week, we have many different types. One type was called bipolar. Now from this type, you have to remember 2 things. First of all, what it is. So a bipolar depression, that's the full name, means that people have periods of time where they are depressed. Which is like exactly the same as a normal depression. But the difference is that these periods of time are followed by periods of time where people are in a manic episode. And the manic episode was this feeling that you can do everything you like to do. People feel extremely confident, extremely happy too. But because they think they can do anything they want, they are doing a lot of things that are harmful for other people, but mostly harmful for themselves. So it's actually dangerous. We also see that people barely sleep in a manic episode, which is literally unhealthy for your body. Bipolar is slightly different from depression in a second way, because we know that bipolar disorders are really heavily influenced by DNA. Now in depression you see it is a little bit of DNA, but it's also really important how your life goes. You guys told me pressure is a thing that can make people have a mental disorder. So with depression, you see that, yeah, people are sensitive for feeling negative, but then bad things happen, and that makes them go into a depression. With bipolar, the bad things are not necessarily need to happen. And so people can just get bipolar 100% by DNA. So this makes it quite different. Also makes the treatment different, as we will see later. Schizophrenia was the last one that we discussed. We talked about this before in examples, and we saw this in a video. People with schizophrenia, they have two symptoms that we call, two things happening in the brain. Yes, hallucinations is one. Hallucinations, one more time, means seeing, hearing, and sometimes feeling, but we can forget this. Most of the time seeing or hearing things that are not there. In history, these kind of people with this disease, they were often seen as people that were special. They could see ghosts, for example, and people worshipped them even. And they were the heroes of the village. They could tell you the future. Nowadays we know that this is actually not true. These people have hallucinations. They see things that we cannot see, and they see these things because their brain is doing this. So their brain is giving them people, sometimes they literally see people, and for them these people look real. Or they hear voices, often more than one, in their head, real voices. Voices of other people. And we all hear voices if we think. The thinking voice, I call it. But they hear voices that are not from them, which makes them really scared really often. So hallucinations, almost always combined with what we call delusions. And delusions are ways of thinking, and in this case, the way of thinking with people with schizophrenia is that they really think that they are in danger. Really often, this danger is coming from groups or people that are out there to get them. And we talked about Nazis as an example, but examples I saw with clients of me were demons, FBI, CIA, these kind of groups, and they really believe that these groups are trying to kill them specifically. So delusions are wrong ideas. So mostly groups are out there together. To do harm to them. Now, if you look at the lecture notes, you see that there are more symptoms connected with schizophrenia, more things that are happening, but these are the most important: hallucinations and delusions. Schizophrenia also definitely coming from DNA. We see that it runs in families more often than not. But we also see that DNA alone is not enough. So if you have family members with schizophrenia, which is you have a chance, doesn't mean you will get it, but it means that you are more sensitive. So often with schizophrenia, we see that people live a normal life for a while, and then bad things happen to them or in their life. They get a lot of stress. And because of this combination of DNA and stress, they develop, as we call it, schizophrenia. So they suddenly go into schizophrenia. There's definitely a combination of DNA and negative experiences in life, negative life events. So don't get too worried if you know that this runs in the family. The chance that you will get it is still really low, but higher than average. Now these will be the important parts of lecture 28. That means, pay attention for when you go to study for finals. It means that ADHD and autism will not be covered because we don't have time enough. Means, as always, that it will not come back in the finals. So ADHD, and autism, you can scrap them, they will not cover them. But these two, of course, will come back. Depression, bipolar, schizophrenia. We skip both of these because today I want to make time for lecture 29. Now, we have seen, you have seen, a lot of different disorders. We talked about mental health being the biggest problem in the world right now, if you look at sickness and disease. And we also said that almost 70% of the people never go for help, for treatment. This terrible combination makes us in CANET want you to learn about what you can do. What can you do if you see friends or family members having a rough time? What can you do with a professional? Also be important. And what can you do to keep yourself mentally healthy? It's a lot of topics for 60 minutes, so probably we can only touch the surface. But some of these topics will come back in your future courses. We're going to focus on two things here. You're going to practice with a technique which we call active listening. It's a way of having a conversation that is proven to be the most successful for different reasons. More about this in a bit. And this one is going to be skipped. We're going to look at cognitive behavioral therapy. It's the most used therapy type in psychology, and you're going to learn a basic way or a basic rule from this therapy. A rule that you can use in your life too, for sure. So it will be two things that we're going to do. We will start with active listening. Like I said, it is about how to communicate. If you have people around you in need, how can you give them the support you actually want to give? How can you make them go to therapy? How can you actually help them? Communication in general. Often we say communication is the following. You have a speaker, the one that's talking. This speaker wants to tell you something. So that makes you the listener. Right? Basic communication. Someone is talking, you're listening. Now there is one problem here, a problem that we don't really often think about. But the speaker is not the only person sending messages. It's not the only person that is actually talking. Even if you are not talking and listening, you are sending messages back to the speaker. You are actually communicating. Let me give you an example. Let's say I am speaking right now, right? So a lot of people will think the way that this works is that I give you a message, you guys write it down, you listen. But while you're listening, you are sending messages back to me. So for example, if I am talking, what I'm doing right now, and you are looking at your phone, then I get a message from you. What is the message? you're not listening. And then I can start thinking, why is this person not listening? Am I talking too fast? Am I not so clear? Is this person not interested? Do I have to change my lecture? So you send me a message, I'm not listening. And maybe a second message is why you are not listening. I have to guess, I'm not sure, but you are sending something to me. This is what we often call non-verbal communication. Sending messages without talking. Non-verbal means without talking. Research shows that this type of communication, sending messages without talking, but just by doing things, is responsible for 60% of your message. Now what does that mean? It means if you give a presentation in front of the class, only 40% of what people understand comes from what you are saying. The other 60% from students understanding you comes from how you are saying it. The things you are saying are less important than how you are telling them. That is what we're saying here. And over, research is showing this. People talking with each other, the things that they are saying are less important than how they are sitting, how they are using their face, how much eye contact they make, the way they use their voice. Do they go up or down? These things are more important than what you actually are saying. We call this non-verbal communication. It's really important if you want to start helping people. It's really important that you understand what kind of messages you are sending. Now some examples of non-verbal communication. I will write them down. Non-verbal communication, using your body to send messages. We can see this. First of all, making eye contact. Looking at each other's eyes is actually a really funny thing, and there are many ways you can do this wrong. Let me give you two examples, and you will easily understand what I mean. Let's say you're talking to your neighbor, and your neighbor is, I don't know, not looking at you. What kind of message do you get? Doesn't care. Yeah. It's not interested in what they're saying. Let's imagine you're talking to your neighbor, and your neighbor is looking at you like this. The whole time you're talking. How do you feel? Uncomfortable, right? Really scary. That's the fun thing about eye contact. It's easy to not make enough eye contact. If you're not making enough eye contact, people easily get the feeling that you are not interested, not focused, you don't care. It's also easy to make too much eye contact. And if you make too much eye contact, people feel really uncomfortable. There is like a really small area where you make enough eye contact. But for some people this is quite hard. You will know. If you don't feel comfortable with someone, it's hard to look them in the eyes. You feel a little bit uncomfortable if you look too long. So making eye contact is something that we just have to do. Most of us doing it correctly, but no one is actually really teaching you this. It's really important because making eye contact shows that you are listening. you do it correctly, people will share more with you. Second important part with non-verbal communication is the way you use your body. And even if you're sitting, you can use your body in different ways where you will send different messages. And it will make the talker do different things. Let me give you an example. In my study, in my master, I had to do an internship, of course. And during my master internship, I had to do therapy with clients. And then in the same room was my supervisor, looking at me, how I did my therapy. Extremely scary, of course, because it feels really weird if someone is looking out at what you're doing wrong. But after the first week that he did this every day, he was sitting in my therapy, he told me one thing, a thing that I still use until today, and it was a long time ago. He said, Daan, you have to pay attention to how you sit on your chair. Because the way you sit is not wrong, but you're sending a message. And you have to make sure that you are wanting to send this message. Sometimes this is good, sometimes it's not. But you have to pay attention to it. Now, he said, I will show you. So it's a little bit, maybe a little bit weird. The way I sat in the first week of my internship was mostly a little bit like this. And then there was the table, and then there was a client on the other side, right? And then if the client was talking, I was sitting like this. What kind of message am I sending if I sit like this?
Boss.
Boss. Okay, I sit behind the table, right? Maybe this makes it different, like this. A little bit bossy, okay. One more. Not listening? Too relaxed? Maybe for some. So this is already interesting, right? The way I sit gives different feelings in people. Some will say it's bossy. Other people will say maybe not so interested. Maybe someone else said, oh yeah, he looks relaxed. Okay. So different ideas in someone's head just by the way you sit. Now my supervisor told me, and he was right, because I tested it. He said if you sit like this, you have a passive way of sitting in a conversation. You're like, okay, you talk, I lay back, talk. Which is okay. If this is your goal, if you sit with someone else and you want the other person to talk, it can help. But he also said, if you want to ask questions, or you want to know more about one specific thing, or you want to show that you are actually active, you have to sit like this. More to the front, maybe with your hands on the table. How does this look? I'm more active, right? Instead of like I'm chilling, I'm actually doing something. Now, until today, and I'm not kidding, I'm using this in my therapy sessions. If I want my client to talk more, I sit back, I wait. And this gives him the signal I have to talk, because he's not doing anything. If I sit into the front, I see that my clients, they stop talking, and I can actually say something, because I look way more active, and they give me the room to talk. So the way you use your body is actually sending messages, and you can control a conversation with this. We have more ways, but I will not do them all, but non-verbal communication, it's about eye contact, the way you use your body, also the way you use your voice. The tone of your voice, we call it. And you can make sure that you are asking a question, like this, right? So if you go up, right? It sounds like a question. Problem with my voice is that really often I keep it a little bit like this all the time, which makes people fall asleep. But you can do different things just by using your voice. You can highlight one word if you do it like this, You can, with pacing, with how you are talking, you can actually make people focus on one part of what you're saying. The tone of voice is really important. I always check the tone of voice of my clients too. If I see them for the first time, and they're constantly talking like this, I instantly think about, I have to check if they have depression. Because this tone of voice is really common with depression. So they are sending a message immediately by how they are talking. I instantly have an idea about what's going on. So with active listening, we are focusing on all of this. More importantly, we say that if you are listening to someone else, you should focus on these things. Because the better you do this, we will have a look at this really quickly. The better you do these things, the more you will get out of a conversation. If you want to help people, you want that they start sharing how they feel. The best way to do this is use good non-verbal communication. I want you guys to pick up your workbook. And go to lecture 29. You will see an exercise there, but I will explain it here on the screen. First of all, you have to make a group of 3 people. Choose the people that are close to you. So like this, we can do that. That will be fun. Try people from your table, or otherwise people near you. So 3 people. Second step. If you have 3 people, you go through the following. One of these will be a speaker. The speaker is going for at least 2 minutes talk about something that you really like. Everything is allowed as long as you are enthusiastic about it. You like it, it's like a passion of you or a hobby or a topic you're really into, something that you really like. Then someone else from your group will be a listener. The second person. The goal of this listener is, without talking, to make sure to do everything you can to show you are not listening. Yeah? You have to make sure that the speaker knows that you don't care. You don't care about this passion, you don't care about this person, and you want to show this. Without talking, you're a listener. So you cannot say, I don't care. You have to show it. Then, person number 3 will be an important role. The observer, this person will look 2 things. You have to write it down. You have to focus on what kind of things the listener is doing. So how is this listener showing that he or she is not listening? And secondly, you have to figure out or look at what is the reaction of the speaker. Sad, maybe crying. I don't know so. So for the observer, you write down what the listener is exactly doing or not doing, and you look at how the speaker is responding. Is the speaker start talking more or less? Is he or she trying to do things? Try to focus on these things. Okay, you have 1 minute to finish your 3-person group. Give every member one role: speaker, listener, or observer. Start out. 1 minute to assign roles for your group. Groups of 3 mostly. Make sure that there is one speaker. So find out who is going to speak. Make sure for the speakers, if you already know, make sure you have a topic in your head. Try to find something you really find interesting. So something you're actually truly enthusiastic about. If you don't know anything specific, just choose one topic and start talking about that. And for the listener, get some strategies in your mind. What are you going to do to show that you don't care? Make sure that the speaker will know this without talking. And the observer, pen, paper, have it ready, and write down what you see what's happening. What is the listener doing? What is the reaction of the speaker? I will give you a couple of minutes to do this. I will walk around. You can start now. Start. And stop. I saw a lot of listeners using a similar technique here. Someone wants to share. What was the listener doing to show that he or she was not listening? I saw a lot of listeners doing something else. Mostly phone. And they were really busy with not being in the conversation by doing something else. Which is a really good way of showing that you are not listening. True. And the phone is a really good thing to use to do that. So, one of the rules we have in active listening is to put your phones away. Not because phones are bad, but because it's so easy to pick it up and you think, yeah, I'm still listening. But half of your mind is doing something else. And even worse, the message to the other person is that you don't really care. And your phone is more important, so who cares? Second thing, I heard people saying here, and I saw this happening a lot, not making eye contact, just staring into the distance. More things listeners were doing. Sleeping. I would say that's doing something else. Sleepiness, yeah, it's a clear message. No doubt about that. Not showing emotions? Yeah? Yeah, no facial expressions, you mean, right? No emotions on the face. Yeah. Let me say it like this, because probably the person had emotions, but it's not showing emotions. Yeah, really important in listening. You all do this. If you're talking with someone, you sometimes smile in between, and this small thing already helps the speaker to keep talking. If you're smiling, it means you're enjoying it. It means you can talk more. If the person is just looking at you without any emotion, you really quickly will feel uncomfortable. You get the feeling, what's going on? Something wrong? Then you get the feeling that what you're saying is not interesting enough. So yeah, facial expressions is what we call it, are really important. The way you express your emotions. Facial expressions, so showing emotions in your face, the way you show it. So it's always really interesting. You guys know really well how to not listen and how to show this, right? Now, in active listening, go back to the sheets, is a technique that is developed in psychology, but really, really quickly got adopted in management courses. Active listening describes a technique, how to show that you're listening, and we see that there are common goals, or a couple of goals, that you can reach by using this technique. You show that you're listening. We see that if you do this correctly, that the speaker will talk more to you, and you make sure that you understand. Now these three things are really important in psychology, because if you do these three things, we see that people start sharing what they want to share. And so what we said before, if people are struggling, we don't really like to share this. We feel ashamed, we feel that people don't really care, or we feel that people don't really understand. Look at these goals. Active listening is absolutely making sure to someone else that you care, that you understand, and that you are actually interested in what this person is telling you. So we use this technique with clients, but we also teach this to people that are going into business to help them to make sure that they can help others with using this. So that are the goals. Now, a really big part of active listening is non-verbal communication. So how you use your face, like we all said, eye contact, tone of voice, the way you move your body. But we have some basic rules that we say if you are in a conversation that you find important and that you have to do. And step one is that you have to make sure that you get all the distractions away. If you have an important conversation, maybe later in business, or maybe just a personal one, but important, you want to have a place that is not distracting you from the conversation itself. So, not too busy, it has to be quiet, you have to have privacy. But more importantly, and way more difficult, you also should not be distracted by your own mind. We all know that if we are listening, we are not talking. If you're listening, you are thinking about 1,000 other things at the same time. If you're sitting here, yeah, sure, one part of your mind is listening, the other part of your mind is thinking about, I want to drink coffee after this. And tonight I'm going to the movies. And then tomorrow I want to do this. You're thinking about other things. And we talked about this before, our thinking is really hard to control. It's really difficult. Our brain is just doing this all the time. So in active listening, we also say you should not think about other things, which is extremely hard. I can still not do it. I'm still, part of my mind is always thinking about something else. Even if I'm 100% interested in you, my mind is still doing this. And more importantly, not being distracted with yourself means that you should not think about what you want to ask. You should not think about what you want to say. No, you are listening. It means you're 100% focused on what the person is telling you. This is really hard, especially later if you are in business and you have a conversation with a potential client. The client is talking to you, and in your mind you're thinking, oh yeah, I should after this I should ask him this. And I should ask him more about how much money he wants to pay for this. You start to think about what you want to say. But it means that you are not listening. You are thinking about something in your mind. You're not listening to the person itself. So not being distracted, the simple step is finding a quiet place without noise around you. The really difficult step is trying to find ways how to 100% focus. This is really hard. Second step in active listening, and that's what we're practicing right now, is that you listen to non-verbal communication. Most of your focus should be on there. You are focusing on the non-verbal communication of someone else, and you are constantly thinking about how you are sitting, how your voice is going, and how you make eye contact. And third step, and this is really important also in management, is that you are feeding back. Feeding back means that after a speaker is finished, that you sort of repeat. And you repeat parts, and this sounds weird, I know. You repeat parts someone told you, just told you. It's a really important skill in active listening. We're going to practice way more with this later in later courses. So it means that you're really listening to what someone is saying, and then you're repeating it. So for example, last week actually I had a client which was doing some experiments. I gave him experiments to do, and he was talking about this. He was explaining what he did and how it went. And when he was explaining, he actually sounded like sort of proud. I could hear. I could see in his voice that he was proud that he did it. He didn't really say it. He didn't say, I am proud. But I could see it in the way he was talking. So when he was finished, I just simply said, sounds like you're really proud of yourself. And then he said, yeah. And then he started talking about this proud feeling, which for him is really important because he's never feeling proud. So by simply repeating something that I saw, this person, he feels that I really understand him. He said, yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. And he started talking more about this feeling. So a really good listener can exactly hear what the important part is of what someone is saying. Sometimes people are talking for 10 minutes and there's only one small thing which is really important. If you can find this and you repeat it, you feed it back, the person will feel that, hey, this person actually really understands me. He really understands what I find important. So these are the 3 steps in active listening. Removing distractions, focusing on non-verbal communication, and you feed back. If you take these 3 rules, you can see that you can use a lot of techniques to do these 3 things. And in this sheet here, you can see all the techniques you can use. And so right here, we have non-verbal communication. And then right here, we have everything about feeding back. So here, you can say non-verbal. This is actually sort of half non-verbal, half not. And here you can see different techniques of feeding back. All these things are things you can practice. If you do this correctly, you will see that you will have a really good conversation. And that the person will tell you almost everything that he or she can tell you. We talked about most of them already. And also, for today, we're not going to focus too much on this. In later courses, this will definitely come back, especially these techniques. And you're going to practice with them how they work, what you can do, how to do it. Now, last important step in active listening is the type of questions you ask. Because you can ask people closed-ended questions and you can ask them open-ended questions. Closed-ended questions are questions that can be answered with a yes and a no, or really short. Questions that give short answers. Open-ended questions give long answers. So for example, if I ask you the question, are you nervous for the finals? Yes. You say yes. Closed-ended question. I can also ask it differently, and you answer with a yes or no. And probably most of you with a yes. I can also ask you, how do you feel about the finals coming up? Then you will say nervous, and then say yeah, why are you nervous? And then we start talking, right? So if you ask an open-ended question, like how are you feeling about the finals coming, then you give people the room to answer in any way they like. Nervous, not much, happy. Anything you can answer, you can answer. If I ask you, do you feel nervous about the finals, your only options are yes or no. So in active listening, we say you have to make sure what kind of answer you're looking for. If you're looking for really specific information, ask a closed-ended question. Because people will give you a yes and a no, and then you know it. If you want to know more about how people think or how they feel, you should ask open-ended questions. Maybe this person was not feeling nervous at all about the finals. It's something I said. And with an open-ended question, you give people the room to answer in any way they like. So we see that open-ended questions often start with how, what, where, who, which. Closed-ended questions more with these words right here. Closed-ended, short answers, mostly yes, no. Long answers, and they can be about anything. Depends on the person that is answering. I want to go to cognitive behavioral therapy. To make it easy, we will call it CBT. CBT. This is a type of therapy that we use for almost every treatment, for almost every disorder. The reason is because it's extremely effective. Research shows that CBT is the most effective treatment we have for a lot of different mental disorders. I want you to understand the basics of this, because the basics of CBT are extremely helpful to deal with problems in your life. Now, if you ask people, why do you feel stressed or why do you feel down, people always tend to give similar answers. I asked you guys 2 lectures ago, how do people get a mental disorder? And most of you answered with answers like pressure, exams, family. We always feel that a situation, like family or exams, is making us feel bad. Now in CBT, we say something different. We say that the situation is not so important for your feelings. You feeling nervous for the finals, the problem is not the finals. The finals are not making you nervous. What is making you nervous is the way you think. The way you think about the finals. That is making you nervous. Let me give you a simple example to really understand what I mean by this. Because you will think, yeah, sure, if there are no finals, I'm not stressed. So finals make me stressed. Really easy. Let's imagine the following situation. You're sleeping, and you wake up 2 a.m. in the night. You wake up because there's a loud or a hard sound. This is the situation. Try to imagine this is happening. You're just sleeping, you may be dreaming, deep sleep, suddenly, loud sound, you wake up. How do you feel? Angry. Others? Nervous? Scared? More ideas? How do you feel if this is happening? Maybe you feel nothing. You turn around and you fall asleep again. Right? You know probably what I do. Too sleepy and close this and fall asleep again. This will probably be the range of emotions that people can have in this situation. Angry, nervous and scared, a little bit similar. Or maybe nothing, you just fall asleep again. So this is already interesting. It means that an exact same situation is giving different feelings in different people. Or you can say, the situation is not the most important thing for what you feel. Otherwise, everyone would feel exactly the same in this situation. But now we see, if I am in this situation, I feel nothing, if someone else is in here angry, someone else scared. So what is the difference? Why is one person getting angry and the other person getting scared for the exact same thing? Maybe experience. But if you look closely, it will be the way you think about what happened. I can give you a simple example of my life, because my emotions in this situation changed during the years. Normally, my response will be nothing. Why? Because probably if I wake up, I think it was probably nothing. And if I think it was probably nothing, I don't feel angry, I don't feel scared, I feel nothing. So I turn around and I fall asleep again. Now some people said angry. I think last year I would be angry too. Why? What is different? Well, last year I was living in my apartment and my neighbors, they have 3 dogs. And these dogs are not really well trained, like not at all. It means that the whole night they are barking, and they're barking really, really loud. So if I wake up, back then, when they had the dogs, if I woke up at 2 a.m., my first idea in my head, if I wake up, is not nothing. My first idea is, it's my neighbors again. And I instantly get angry. If this is what I'm thinking, I will feel anger in the same situation. Now maybe some people think there is someone in my house. Now if this is what you think, you probably feel scared, right? So 3 different ways of thinking, which gives you completely different emotions, feelings. And these 3 different emotions will make you do different things. And because in the end, the reaction, well, if you feel nothing, you just fall asleep. If you feel scared because you think someone is in the house, you will definitely not fall asleep. You probably lie in bed and you listen. Do I hear someone? Do I hear more sounds? And then if you sleep together with someone else in the bedroom, you wake the person up and say, I hear something in the house. Can you have a look? Yeah? So your response will be really different. You will not fall asleep. You will try to figure out if someone is in your house. Now if you're angry, well, I don't know, but if I'm angry, I cannot fall asleep anymore. So probably I will walk to the neighbors and tell them to do something with the dogs. Or I will think about things I can do with the dogs, just to get my anger away. Let's do something bad to them. So, same situation. Different people think differently. Makes them give different emotions. Make them do different things. In other words, situations, in the end, are not responsible for how you feel. The thing that is responsible for your feelings is the way you think about it. So that means that maybe some people, if they are in a situation of final exams, it is way more interesting, if you want to feel less stressed, is not to look at the finals, but to look at how you think about the finals. Why are you feeling stressed about the final exams? That is a way better question than the question, what can I do against the finals? Yeah, not much. They are coming either way. And if you can figure out your thinking, you can ask yourself the question, Are my thoughts helping me? And second question, are they true? And basically, every single therapy we do goes to these two questions. We try to let people focus on what they're thinking, what is actually what's going through your mind. And if you can figure out what's going through your mind, because it's not easy, then we let them analyze these thoughts. So the things you are thinking, is this helping you in your life? Is this true? If not, can you maybe change them? And that is cognitive behavioral therapy. So yes, if you are stressed about something or feeling down about something, you should not focus too much on the situation itself. If you feel a lot of pressure of your family, sure, it's not easy for no one. I know. I'm not saying that you are thinking wrong. But the thing you can control is the way you think. That is the thing you can actually change. The situations, really often, we cannot really change them. It's quite hard. If you are a student, you have finals. You have to deal with it, no choice, right? So better look at the way you think, because you have a choice there. You can choose the way you think. You can choose a mindset. That is something you can train. Now, in cognitive behavioral therapy, we do this for depression, we do this for anxiety. In normal life, you should do this too. Analyze the way you think. There we go. And in CBT, we show it often like this. And we say that your feelings and your thoughts, they are connected. And your thoughts and your feelings are making you do things. If you want to change something, you can better start here. Because with this, you change your feelings and you will find behavior that you, or that's more helpful for you. Now, in this type of therapy, we are focusing mostly on the way people think. But the second part, and cognitive means thinking, but the second part of this therapy is focused on behavior, things you do. So we say the way you think can help you to feel different and behave differently, but the way you behave can also give you different feelings and different thoughts. So in general, what is helpful for if you feel stressed or if you feel down is that we start with really basic things. Basic rules that most of us know, but most of us stop doing if we start feeling down or stressed. These basic things are four actually. It means that we're looking at eating well, sleep, the most important thing for mental health, more than anything else. Exercising enough. Doesn't have to be workouts, but moving enough. Most people in modern life are sitting most of the day, and our body is not made for sitting. So moving enough, and especially in hotter countries, drinking enough water. So, I'm not kidding, we start with these really simple things in treatment. If you feel down, you should start there too. These four things will make it way more easier to stay happy, to stay mentally stable. It's proven, it's really easy, but often we forget. If we get stressed, or let me say it differently, if I get stressed, I find it difficult to fall asleep. So my sleeping goes worse. If I get stressed, I start to really want to eat unhealthy things. because it just makes me feel happy for a little bit. So I want to eat burgers, fries, and stuff like that. It's not healthy. If I get stressed, I start to feel tired. If I feel tired, I'm not going to do a workout. I'm already tired. I skip today. So the first thing I do when I get stressed is do all wrong things. Things that you actually should not do. So start there. If you feel stressed, focus on the basics. Then, we also focus on other behavior. We say if you feel stressed or down, go spend time with friends. Don't lock yourself up. A lot of us are doing this. You feel down, you feel tired, saying, I'm going to play a video game. Or I'm going to watch Netflix. And people maybe ask you if you want to do something, and you think, nah, I don't feel like it. Never mind. I will feel better later. There we go. If you feel down or stressed, we see that people start to stop hanging out with friends. You should do the opposite. You should take time with friends, but the ones that have a positive influence on you. You have some friends, all of us have them. They're nice, you like them, they're not really good influence on you. We also focus on behavior where we say do things that you actually feel better about, proud. And so instead of watching Netflix the whole day, and after that you think, okay, I didn't do anything today, start doing things that actually makes you feel proud. This will get you out of the stress and out of the feelings of being down way quicker. And, of course, one behavior where we focus on a lot is start talking with people about the stress you feel or the feelings of downness you have. And so in therapy, these are important parts where we really focus on. We make plans, we let people schedule this, otherwise they won't do it. And then if you're still really stressed, and many students come to me with this question, that's why I added it here, you can actually do some things. Most easy thing to do, if you're sitting in your finals and you go, it's too much, start to do a breathing exercise. 1 minute, and your body gets more relaxed. If your body gets more relaxed, your mind will follow. It's really simple. We call it breathing exercises. Maybe some of you already do this sometimes. It's where you really focus, just for 1 or 2 minutes, on the way you breathe. And you start to control your breathing. Now, most of us, what happens if we are stressed, we start to breathe really high. That's how we call it in psychology. It's like here. And if you're really stressed, you can hear it. But if you focus on it, if you're stressed, your breathing gets higher. Now, that makes your body more stressed. That's a funny thing. So if you feel stressed, you start breathing higher. It makes your body feels more stressed. Makes you even more stressed. So in psychology, we found a simple trick. So if you feel stressed, focus your mind 100% for 1 minute on your breathing and start counting. You breathe in for 4 seconds. Through your nose. Really, really deep. And then you breathe out. You let go. You don't have to do this too long, otherwise you get dizzy and you fall over. But if you do it for a short time, you force your body to relax. Your body cannot do anything else than relax. So your heartbeat goes down, you stop shaking. And if your body feels relaxed, you are ready to go too. Your mind will feel better. So this is something that we often teach people in treatment, something you can do yourself. And students sometimes come to me, what can I do if I'm so stressed for the finals? This is the easiest thing you can do, and it's really, really effective. And these are some other things that we always do in CBT. So, for today, focus on these things. Active listening. 3 steps. Remove distractions out of your head and around you. Secondly, focus on the way you sit and communicate with your body. And third step, all the techniques for feeding information back, repeating what a person is just told you. And then for the CBT part, we say if you have difficulties dealing with things in your life, most of these, not always, but most of the time, they come from the way you think. And the way you think is something you can change. Oh. But we also look at what we call healthy behavior. This will be the key points for today. Next lecture is lecture number 30. It will be next week on Thursday for us, seeing another public holiday. May is crazy. Lecture 30. We're going to do two things. Thing number one is the last quiz. Surprise. Quiz 7. We'll focus on mental disorders. So focus on the anxiety disorders, or lecture 27 and lecture 28. All the anxiety disorders, depression, schizophrenia. Also lecture 26.